I'm going to tell you about the situations that we're having right now as Reniflow on the ground. Because of unavailability of funding, we've had to restrict our activities in Epworth. We are in Epworth, we're covering all 7 wards, but the bulk of our kids right now that are in our database are in Ward 1. The reason why we've stopped taking kids is because we are inundated. So when I say we're inundated, what do I mean? I mean that when a 14 or 15, and yes, we do have 14-year-olds who are pregnant who are requesting to join our programs. So when we get a 14-year-old come into our program or a 15-year-old, I'm going to walk you through what then happens. In Epworth, we are working with 65 traditional birth attendants. The verdict, I want to say the verdict is still out on whether they're allowed to deliver babies or not. I saw Dr. Mangwiro, Deputy Minister of Health, basically say that as ministry, they've determined that traditional birth attendants, traditional healers, nganga, maporofita, what have you, the whole gamut, prophets, what have you, all of them need to be registered with the Medical Practitioner Authority, Traditional Medicine Practitioners Authority of Zimbabwe. I hope I got that right. And over and above that, they should have basic things like, blood pressure cuff, know how to check sugar and all of that. So for me, having been advocating for traditional birth attendants to be recognized in some way, and not just the recognition then follows, what follows the recognition is then them being capacitated. What do I mean by that? When a vulnerable woman gets to a traditional birth attendant's house at like 3 in the morning, first of all, the traditional birth attendants that we're working with under Gogonya Kudanga, who's phenomenal, they're not actively encouraging people to come and deliver at their houses. No, they are only there for emergencies. But there's no entity that is capacitating them with the basic equipment that they need. And what do we mean by that? Razor blades, gloves, buckets, just basic stuff, right? There's no entity that's capacitating them with that. And then so when a woman presents, or I shouldn't even say a woman, okay, yes, women also, but our constituency that we're working with is teenagers. When they present at Gogo's house or at the traditional birth attendant's house, we're encouraging them to then take those girls to the local clinic. Now, the issue that we're getting when we get to the local clinic is because of their ages, they're not allowed to deliver anyone under the age of 16, and we have a huge database of pregnant teenagers that are under the age of 16. So these children, I think for me, having been back now in Zimbabwe for a solid 2 years, I'm realizing that there's such a chasm between what people believe is poverty and what poverty actually is on the ground. Poverty is a 14 or 15-year-old living alone, being pregnant, having to go into transactional sex to make sure that she's able to sustain herself. Because when you're pregnant, I remember when I was pregnant, I was hungry all the time. It's no different when you're 14 or 15 or 16 and you're pregnant. So they end up going into transactional sex. And as power dynamics would have it, their ability to negotiate safe sex is completely non-existent. So they end up having transactional sex to be able to feed themselves. And the other thing that we're seeing is the pervasive uptake of drug use. When you ask them, why are you taking drugs? You're pregnant. They'll straight up tell you, when you're high, you don't get hungry, and that's why I'm taking drugs. And I think that, I don't know who I'm talking to. I hope that this video somehow lands on the desk of people that can move the needle in terms of decision making. We need to really talk about the state of maternal health, and it needs to be it need not be just a few people talking about it. It needs to be a lot of other people coming onto the table and all of us talking and going in the same direction. It makes no sense to me that as Zimbabwe, we are talking about getting to 0 new infections, and yet Right now in our database, we have maybe 40, 50 teenagers that are pregnant that have not, some of them end up actually delivering, that have not had any contact with a clinician. Someone will ask, why haven't they had contact with the clinician? Well, at Domboramari Clinic in Epworth, which is the clinic that they can go to, it's $40 to register for antenatal care. So obviously that's unattainable. That is, something that they can't pay. So they have not been screened for HIV. They've not been screened for STI. We have a partner of ours, Muneni Ultrasound Scans. Thank you to them. Per month, they allow us to bring 10 girls to go and be scanned. So literally what we do is we put them in a combi, because we don't have a vehicle of our own as Rona Flow Foundation. We put them in a combi and we take them to get their ultrasound scans. And every time we go with a group of 5 or a group of 6 kids, there's always the 1 or 2 that has something that needs basically there's like an alarm from the sonographer, like this child needs to be in front of a clinician. The reality is Ronaflow cannot afford to pay for the child to go in front of a clinician all the time. I think for those of you that follow me, I'm always asking for help. Please help me. Can you, if you're a clinician, can you donate free services? If you're someone who has capacity, can you donate towards, antenatal care, $40, a birthing kit, all of those things? Because as Ronaflow, we just don't have capacity, right? So the state of teen pregnancies in Zimbabwe is so sinister. It's heartbreaking and it's shocking that there's not much that's being done to curb it. I can tell you for a fact, every time I post about teenagers and teen moms on my personal Twitter handle, people always ask me, why haven't you gotten those people arrested? It's quite frankly, all I always do is I tag ZRP, Zimbabwe Republic Police, because it's not something that I should do. And over and above that, for every child that we work with, we give a copy of her file to DSS, which is the custodians of these children, government, the Ministry of Public Service and Social Welfare. We give them these kids. Anything that happens, I want to always make sure that I absolve myself. So I always make sure that I communicate with DSS. So I don't want to make this too long, but I'm just saying that at the end of the day, I really hope that we can all come together and do something about the state of maternal health in Zimbabwe. We have kids having babies, and actually 2 weeks ago, 2 of our kids who are 16, both 16, had to bury their kids because their kids are dying. And the funny thing about it, not funny, the heartbreaking thing about it is, when they go deliver, because they don't have a birth certificate themselves, their kids don't get a birth record. So when they die, it's like these human beings never were on earth at all. This situation is just unbelievable. Why am I doing these video logs? I'm doing it so that I can raise awareness about the state of maternal health and to say, I'm just sounding the alarm. We need more people looking into the situation on the ground in terms of teen moms. As Ronaflow, we need support. We are doing as much work as we can, but it's overwhelming. Every day we're getting more children coming into the program, begging to get into the program because they have no plan B. They live on their own, or they're living in very precarious situations. They have no social supports. And even if they come into our program, then the next thing that we want is we want to make sure that they're registering for antenatal care. We don't have the capacity to pay $40. Over and above that, if they're now close to their due date, we don't have capacity to buy them the birthing kit that is required. I mean, they're even supposed to bring gloves, surgical gloves, when they go, a bucket, cotton, clothes, excuse me, clothes for the baby and all of that. We simply don't have capacity as Ronaflow Foundation. We get donations here and there, but it's not sustainable. And then we get right now what the nurses have been doing have when we register the few that we do have, they then say, okay, we need this one. We are suspecting something. Can you please take these kids for ultrasound scans? You have to pay. So we need support. We're canvassing for support, but over and above canvassing for support, I am really asking anyone who does any type of programming around children, around sexual reproductive health, around maternal health, to say we need an all hands on deck approach, because this piecemeal that we are all doing, and we're complicit as well, is not working. We have kids that are in dire straits right now that need help. And in the spirit of Women's Month, I want to appeal to women who are in positions of power, who have decision making abilities in terms of the everything. Have more conversations in your company, in your organizations, about the state of maternal health, and over having a conversation, do something about it. Let's be partners. Let's do something collectively to make sure that we do something, because we cannot continue with the status quo as it is right now. We cannot continue having children continue to give birth on their own, continue to be raped, continue to be abused, and we do nothing about it. We all do hashtag end child marriage, but I feel like everyone then ends there. Once you do end hashtag end child marriage, then there's the next level where that child then becomes a mother, becomes pregnant. Who is supporting those kids? So until my next video, I just want to invite you to look more into the work that Ronaflow is doing. We can be contacted at info@ronaflowfoundation.org. I'll also just pin it onto this video. If you want to partner with us, maybe you're a therapist, you want to provide counseling for these children, maybe you want to donate baby clothes, maybe you want to buy us cotton wool that they need to put in the birthing kits, whatever. We will take it all. So thank you, and I will do another video again towards the end of this month, and I hope you all are safe. And if you are pregnant, I wish you a happy pregnancy and a safe and dignified birth. Thank you so much.